G'day guys, welcome back to Smashy Supercoach podcast. It's Teamless Tuesday for round one. I'm not going to go too deep into the team lists. I'm just going to go into some more, probably the most relevant stuff, Supercoach wise, I guess, mostly. So yeah, it's not going to be too deep. And then at the end, I'll suppose update on the final, what my final team ended up being after team lists, and then VCs and vice captain and captain at the end, and then that'll probably do. So first game, Roosters and the Broncos on Thursday night at Allianz. So for the Roosters, the main things are Nawangan Nitawase and Rob Toya have been named in the centres. There's no Billy Smith anywhere on the side, so he must be out with an injury or something like that. Sandon Smith, pretty obvious, named at 6, as everyone probably would have expected. Should be the goal kicker. So yeah, pretty much everyone's probably going to have him in their teams anyway. Nafahu White named in the front row. Whether he remains there for too many games anyway remains to be seen. Like Spencer Lanier's out suspended, so like when he comes back in a couple of games' time, Nafahu White probably drops back to the bench, possibly, or either that or he might just play less minutes. Connor Watson's obviously at 9, as everyone expected, but then they got Docker Clay on the bench at 14. So that'll pretty much rule out Connor Watson playing 80 minutes at hooker with Docker Clay on the side. Pretty much it. Yeah, there's nothing else really too relevant with the Roosters besides those guys. At the Broncos, Cobbo on the wing, which was pretty much being reported the whole preseason, and saw that in the trial. Shibasaki and Mariner in the centres. Mariner is I think pretty sure it's Mariner that's replacing Staggs on the right side. So Shibasaki is pretty much locked in on the left side. So yeah, he's going to be in a lot of people's teams. Jack Gajewski on the edge. And then there's also Pierre Kerr on the bench. So potentially a little bit of a trap. Yeah, I think Jack Goz is probably a little bit of a trap now. With Pierre Kerr on the bench. Kobe Hetherington at lock, like as expected. Corey Pakes at 9 with Billy Walters at 14. Remains to be seen whether or not Billy Walters only plays hooker, or he might even play minutes maybe at lock, potentially, depending on whether Kobe Hetherington plays 50 or 60 minutes, or depending on the minutes of Kobe Hetherington at lock, pretty much. Walters could play some minutes at lock as well as playing maybe 20 minutes at hooker. Other things to note, Ben Takura on the extended bench. So whether or not that means Pierre Kura may or may not stay on the side, depending on whether they want an extra big man on the bench, or whether they just have Walters playing minutes at hooker and lock, because then they've only got Willison and just gone mind blank the other one. Corey Jensen on the bench. They're the only big middles on the bench, so they may opt to go even play Pierre Curry in the middle if he doesn't take minutes out of Jack Goz on the edge. So they're pretty much the only relevant Supercoach stuff really for that game. The first of the Friday games, the Tigers against the Knights. So for the Tigers, Buller's out injured, which means Heath Mason will play fullback. They've got Adam Dewey and Solomon Fatape in the centres. So yeah, so Brent Naden's out obviously with his knee injury. Who else was there? God, I forget who else there was that centre that they could have named. Oh, there's like Stafford Toa could have possibly have been named, but he was left out of the squad. And I forget the other guy's name. He's actually possibly might be retiring. Yeah, names disappeared off the top of my head at the moment. So other than that, there's De Silva at hooker. Yeah, because of Api Coruscant being out suspended for round one. And there's also a young guy on the bench that'll be obviously probably sharing minutes with him as well. And then obviously Alex Seyfarth has been named on the edge. There's him and Samuel Lafinu named in the back row. I'm pretty sure Alex 12's also playing at 13. And then they've got Royce Hunt and Jack Bird also on their bench. So that pretty much will rule a lot of people on having Jack Bird on their team. And then obviously with Royce Hunt being on the bench, he's one of the only real like front row was really on the bench. Besides, I think Sione Finu that's on the bench, he'll probably play middle minutes as well. And then no one knows how many minutes Bird will play when he comes on either. So that's the main stuff for the Tigers. Other Knights, Sharp and Cogger are the halves. Apparently, Tyson Gamble wasn't available for selection. Otherwise, he probably would have been the 7. Dylan Lucas and Kai Pierce-Paul been selected on the edges with Frizzell at 13. So those guys are probably locked in for 80 on the edges for the Knights. And they've named Crossland at 9 with Jaden Brayley at 14. And they're obviously the rest of the side's pretty much named as expected. On the Friday, the second Friday night game, the Dolphins against the Rabbitohs. As you would all know already, earlier this afternoon, the NRL have moved this game to Combank Stadium in Sydney because of the cyclone that's going to be hitting in the next couple of days. So it's for the safety of everyone involved, and the safety of like fans who would have had to have tried to get to the game and whatnot. But then they've changed the game that they play in round 17. Instead of being down in Sydney, it's going to end up being in Brisbane as a Dolphins home game. So this one's basically going to be a Rabbitohs home game now, with it being played down in Sydney. So for the Dolphins, the main ones are Junior Tupou's playing on a wing, because of Bostock being out injured. But when Jack Bostock comes back from his injury, he'll likely slot in at centre, and Avarillo will move to 6. And more than likely Nikorima probably drops out of the side. Avarillo will play at centre in place of Bostock in this one. Junior Tupou will be on the wing. Nikorima's at 6. As I've mentioned, he'll probably drop out of the side when Bostock comes back. Plath's been named on an edge. Gilbert at lock. Kurt Donahue at 14. Probably won't be too relevant Supercoach wise though. He'll probably play a mixture of. He may spell Jeremy Marshall King at hooker, but I doubt it really. If he does, he might spell him maybe 10 minutes, if that. Pretty confident JMK will probably play at least 70 minutes or 65 at a minimum, being that he's probably the most important player on the spine, attacking wise. So I'll probably see Donahue would probably more than likely play kind of like a lock forward sort of style role, and then maybe fill in at different spots in the team if needed. He can play anywhere. and Lemuelu has been selected on the bench, which potentially makes Vinny Filiaki a bit of a trap for Supercoach, because Lemuelu probably take minutes out of Vinny Filiaki on the edge. I'd say that's probably the main things for the Dolphins in that game. Onto the Rabbitohs, Campbell Graham has been selected in the centres, which is a big in for the Rabbitohs. They've named Tass and Munro on the wings. I'm assuming that Tass will actually be the one that's on the left and Munro will be on the right. More than likely, Cody Walker and Jamie Humphries have been named in the halves. So that's a big in also for the Rabbitohs, having Cody Walker named, because he was in doubt with a calf over the past few weeks. Humphries may not be, depending on how well he goes, really might not hold on to that spot. Lewis Dodd out suspended for one game, so he potentially, Humphries potentially might only spend one game in the 7 jersey for the Rabbitohs. Marmus Ellis named at 9 as expected. Jaden Sullivan's at 14 though, so he'll probably be the one that does the sharing of minutes at hooker, even though they do have Havili on the bench as well. But with Sullivan at 14, I'd say Havili will probably end up playing as a middle forward role. And the other things of note for the Rabbitohs, Keon's on an edge. There was talk of people on different podcasts and whatnot of Keon potentially playing lock with Murray out for most of the year with his Achilles. But young Lachlan Hubner, who Wayne took from the Dolphins down to the Rabbitohs, has been named at lock. So from the looks of that, Wayne's probably got a lot of obviously is favouring him and sees a lot in the young fella to start him at lock ahead of guys like Tallis Duncan and also Keon. So that's pretty much that for that one. The first of the Saturday games, Dragons and the Bulldogs. So the Dragons have named Matt Fenoi and Christian Tuipulotu on the wings. There's no Finau named in the side. That's pretty much what I would have expected, really. That Tuipulotu would have came in on that wing spot instead of Finau being there. In that second trial when Finau scored those 4 tries against Rabbitohs, Tuipulotu was out. Actually, wasn't playing in that game because he had a bit of a hamstring niggle, and Matt Fenoi had already, from the look of it, locked down the other wing spot. The only other thing of note really for the Dragons in this one is Emre Guler starting in the front row with Toby Couchman and Jack DeBellin starting at 13. Guler's at about 330k, so from playing only low minutes when he used to be at Canberra, so he could be a decent buy for people out there. But they're also potentially going to be signing David Clemmer, so he might not even keep that spot moving forward, or either one of those two guys starting in the front row might not even keep that spot. For the Dogs, Curran's out suspended. Tupanua is on the bench. The rest of the Bulldogs team, the whole rest of the Bulldogs team 1 to 17 is pretty much named as most people would have expected. Not too many. There's not too many of guys of Supercoach relevance to really to speak of. Probably besides the obvious ones like Matt Burton, potentially Stephen Crichton, and then there's some people out there that may have guys like Max King, potentially, but otherwise, not too many other guys of relevance for the Dogs. Oh, and other guys I forgot to mention for the Dragons before as well. The ones that are obvious, guys that are relevant in Supercoach, obviously Gutho could be a bit of a pod play for people. I wouldn't push back too much on that actually. He'll probably play a stronger role for the Dragons than what he was when he was at the Eels, especially down the left side. They looked in the trials as if they're going to probably favour down their left edge, with Gutho heading over that way, and also having Val Holmes playing at centre on that side. And it also looks as well like since Ben Hunt's left to go to the Broncos, that Kyle Flanagan will probably be the dominant one of the halves there, and he'll also be on that left side. So that looks like how they'll go. Yeah, so that's that one for the first of the Saturday games. Second one, Manly and the Cowboys. The obvious guys to pick out for Manly is obviously Tom Trbojevic, Ruben Garrick. Those are going to be guys who are like very highly owned. That people will be expecting to score pretty well. They've picked Lehigh Hopewadi on one of the wings, ahead of guys like Tommy Talau. I forget who else they had that was potentially battling for a wing spot, but they've picked Lehigh Hopewadi first, and then they've also got, I don't know, there's no one else that I had down as someone of note. But there are other ones that are relevant, are like your Olakawatu's. If you're going to be real pottish, even Daly Cherry Evans could even be a decent one, with all the home games Manly has early in the season. But otherwise, there's not too much other people of relevance Supercoach wise. For the Cowboys, they've picked Jackson Purdue at centre, Braden Burns on the vacant wing where Kyle Felt used to play, and Tom Duffy has been picked at halfback. The only other thing to note is that Jake Clifford is on the extended bench, and also Jason Taumalolo as well, so he could come into the forwards there somewhere as well. So that's pretty much all for that one. And the final game of the round on Sunday, the Storm against the Eels. So Paps has been named at fullback, or Ryan Papenhuyzen has been named at fullback. He's been under a bit of an injury cloud recently to do with his knee. There was rumours of his ankle as well, but according to NRL Physio, I was listening to the other day, it's something to do with his knee that's been bothering him recently. So, but he seems all good. Munster and Hughes are good to go. Munster's obviously back from having like hip surgery and that over the off season, but he's looking fit and ready to go. Hughes has been under a little bit of an injury cloud leading into the season as well, but he seems to be good to go. And then they've got Lazarus Varlepu on the bench. For the Eels, they've got Iongi at fullback. It was pretty obvious that he was going to be the one picked there, because there's been out of him and Joash Papali or Papali'i, however they pronounce it. There's out of those two for the fullback spot, but Iongi's been named there. And then also they've named Jake Tungo on the wing. I think there's also Bailey Simonson potentially. There eventually could end up coming in place of him at some point. So I probably wouldn't recommend having him on the side in your teams, but he's pretty cheap. but don't know how long he could have the spot for. Because I think I'll be pretty confident that Bailey Simonson will eventually come in and take that spot. And then also for the Eels, Moses is out with a foot injury. They've got no idea how long he's going to be out for. So that'll mean Ronald Volkman will come in to play at 7. Kalma Tuolangi was named on an edge. But with Moses out, don't know how good he'll go. And Eels also have Brendan Hams named at 9, and they've got young Riley Smith named at 14. So it means that they're not going to have an 80-minute hogger. So that's pretty much all for the teams. So with my Supercoach team, after all the teams have been named, the rest of these teams were named. The only I had to make 2 little changes. The only changes I had to make was drop Ben Takura, put Royce Hunt in that spot, and the other one was I dropped Jack Krzyzewski out of the team and put Lachlan Hubner in there. Haven't had to make any major changes to the team. Just those little ones. I thought maybe Jack Goz could be a bit of a trap with Pierre Cura being on the bench, so got rid of him, and obviously Ben Takura was on the extended bench, and it was just easy just to put Royce Hunt in there because he'll definitely play for the Tigers week in, week out. So yeah, that's the only changes to my team. So far in the round, I had in the first game, the Raiders Warriors won. So far, out of players that I've got in my team that have played, there was Corey Horsburgh, Zach Hosking, and then there was also Ali Leotawa and Luke Metcalf. And from the Sharks and Panthers game, the only player I had was Nico Hines. I didn't VC or see any of those guys. So out of the guys that I have remaining left in my team, I've gone for a bit of a out there kind of VC, but I've thrown the VC on Jermaine Osako against the Bunnies. If he can go over for a try and kick a few goals, he'll hopefully that'll get him around the 100 mark, or if he may, but not too worried about that otherwise. And my captain's going to be Tommy Turbo against the Cowboys down at Brookie. That's pretty much it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you've been liking this content, remember to hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And that's that done and dusted. The next video I'll probably depending how things go after the cyclone in Brisbane, it'll probably hopefully Sunday, might be Monday, or if not, I'll put out like a wrap up of round 1, around about on Tuesday, maybe even, and then after that I'll follow that up with a TLT, or with next week's TLT. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.